If you haven't been living under a rock, you've seen the Cracker Barrel rebrand. That's right, Cracker Barrel, a favorite American restaurant, which to be honest, I've only been to a couple times, but every time I thought it was inoffensive. And I feel like everybody's kind of like that. Everybody just goes there every once in a while. But Cracker Barrel has the perfect setup. It's Americana, makes you feel like home, and they got half decent food. So what are they doing to mess this up? Well, they're taking the Americana away from Cracker Barrel. They're going from this iconic logo to this one that looks like somebody made it in Microsoft Paint in 3 minutes. That's right, I don't know what it is with all of these companies constantly making their logos worse and worse and worse, but quite frankly, this looks like something I could have designed in 5th grade. Like, how do you even convince a room full of executives that this is a good logo? I don't understand how anybody can think that this is better than this. This has an identity. This is identifiable. This looks like a fake brand in a movie. But apparently, at least according to the CEO, people love the rebrand. So let's listen to her say that right after you hit the like button.
Honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite. I actually happened to be in Orlando last week with all of our managers. We bring them together and every other year. And the number one question that I got asked, Michael, was, how can I get a remodel? When can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So because the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members. They want to work in a wonderful restaurant. So
that right there is her problem. She said there that people want to work in a wonderful restaurant, which means that she's thinking that right now Cracker Barrel isn't wonderful. That's not what a CEO should think. If they change something up to make it more wonderful, that's different. But she just said that they want to make it wonderful, which means she doesn't like the Cracker Barrel identity. She doesn't like the Cracker Barrel brand, and that makes sense because she's getting rid of it. And it's always the same kind of people, right? These older white women who have no concept about what is actually something that people care about, right? This lady and me have absolutely nothing in common. I can tell you that right now. And I would be willing to bet that you, as a viewer of this video, have absolutely nothing in common with her as well. In fact, I think the only people who have something in common with her are probably millionaires who live in their New York City penthouse apartments with their 6 cats. Somehow, these out-of-touch people get put in charge of these huge brands that, quite frankly, I don't think they're qualified to be in charge of. I think that Cracker Barrel as a company should be run by somebody who's an American patriot, who likes Americana, who isn't going to tear up the entire brand identity for absolutely no reason. It doesn't make sense. And I'm not the only one to say that. We actually have rare bipartisanship coming out of this, where Democrats and Republicans are coming together to say that they hate the rebrand. And to that point, we've seen a lot of people from the Unsubscribed podcast talking about what's going on. So if we take a look here, we can see that the Democrats tweeted out, "We think the Cracker Barrel rebrand sucks too," to which Brendan Herrera responded, "Bipartisanship in 2025? And then Donut Operator said, "You come into my house, try to rebrand my barrel?" And that really does help sum up the whole thing. Nobody wants this. Nobody wants you to go from an iconic logo like this to this new age crap. But for some reason, they all do it. And if we go here to the Fat Electrician, he says that Cracker Barrel is a perfect example of why hiring quote-unquote industry experts with no real attachment to the brand is a terrible idea. Companies should promote from within. The best performing businesses, especially in the restaurant and beverage industries, almost always do. Just look at Chick-fil-A. You can't just buy or get hired to run a franchise. You have to work your way up. Coincidentally, it's the highest grossing fast food chain per capita by a wide margin. And I think he makes a very good point here. When you have somebody who's an outside consultant, they don't get the brand. You're hiring some random guy in California or India to decide what your brand looks like and what your identity is going to be. But if that person has never experienced your brand, if they don't understand that Cracker Barrel is supposed to be an Americana restaurant, then you end up with something that looks kind of like it came out of a mobile game from 2008. It's not great. However, the mutual hatred of the Cracker Barrel rebranding is uniting America. And no, it wasn't on my bingo card either, which is something the Fat Electrician said, but I feel like that's pretty true as well. Anyway, we also had Steak and Shake calling them out. Sometimes people want to change things just to put their own personality on things. At Cracker Barrel, their goal is to just delete the personality altogether, hence the elimination of the old timer from the signage. Heritage is what got Cracker Barrel this far, and now the CEO wants to just scrape it all away. At Steak and Shake, we take pride in our history, our families, and our American values. All are welcome. We will never market ourselves away from our past in a cheap effort to gain the approval of trend seekers. And this is actually a very good statement from Steak and Shake. They went for the throat on this one, and I do believe that they're correct when they call this a cheap effort to gain the approval of trendsetters, because honestly, what could possibly be the point of it otherwise? And if we scroll down here, we'll actually see Donut Operator popped in and said, "Damn, y'all just woke up and chose violence, huh?" And that's because literally everybody hates this rebrand. If the Democrats, Brendan Herrera, Donut Operator, and the Fat Electrician are all on the same side of something, Cracker Barrel's got a big problem. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. Remember to like and subscribe. Have a great day, and God bless you.